We see Gloria, the fertility counselor, imagining herself on a beach playing around with her daughter. But remember, Gloria has no children, unfortunately. So she has started to hallucinate these visions, and a nurse takes care of her by injecting her with medications. Meanwhile, Juliet is still looking at the children's travel book, and she sees several names written with a pencil, including Gloria and George. So Juliet opens Gloria's file that Holston left for her. Then she takes the travel book and goes out. All this is witnessed by the surveillance team, whose leader is none other than Robert. Robert decides to send someone to follow her. Juliet checks Gloria's status and finds that she's in long-term medical care. She goes to the medical unit and uses her sheriff's powers to go inside. The nurse says that Gloria gets agitated and hallucinates, but Gloria keeps talking about the large water, meaning the sea. Juliet tries to take Gloria for a walk, but the nurse says that Judge Meadows herself has ordered her to be kept here. Meanwhile, Paul gets an emergency message asking for Juliet. He tries to contact her on the radio, but she ignores it as she's gone to meet Judge Meadows. But the judge has taken a sick leave. Back to Paul, many people are fighting, and he rushes there. He and the other deputies fight them all and get them into custody. Juliet comes back to the station where there is utter chaos. Paul scolds her for not responding to her radio. He says that there was a bar fight and people just jumped to conclusions, resulting in the fight earlier. Paul believes that the people need their sheriff, so Juliet should be more professional and take her job seriously. Juliet replies that she really does not know what she's doing here, but she believes that the murders of George, Ruth, and Sam are connected to Holston and Allison going out. She also believes that Doug didn't commit suicide. He was killed. She wants to solve the whole thing and asks for Paul's help. Paul agrees to help her and finds a loophole in the pact that will allow her to reopen George's case. She also gets Judge Meadows' address from him. Later, Juliet goes to meet Lucas at the cafeteria, where he reveals that he's a systems analyst at the IT department. She asks him if he's seen anything strange on the screen because he's always looking at it. He mentions a light that moved across the sky and disappeared, probably a shooting star. Then he leans in to kiss her, but Juliet just gets up and leaves, and they said the worst thing she can say is no. Next, Juliet goes to her room and looks at pictures of the stars in the travel book. The surveillance team is probably looking at her through the mirror. One day, Bernard calls her to his office and says that Judge Meadows threatened to remove him because he supported Juliet earlier. You know, when Robert accused her of planting evidence. He talks about how important the IT department is because it's the network through which everything in the silo runs, from agriculture to air filtration to information. Bernard is worried that Judge Meadows will hijack the IT department from him, and he has no intentions of seeing that happen. Juliet says that she has something that she might use to control Meadows, and Bernard tells her to do it fast, or they'll both suffer from it. She goes to Meadows' apartment, pretending to be a normal food delivery person. Once inside, she notices a place full of strange relics. Juliet demands to know why she's put Gloria in the hospital and continuously injected her with drugs to sedate her. Meadows declines, obviously. So Juliet makes her an offer, let her talk to Gloria for a few hours, and she will resign from her post as sheriff within the week. But Judge Meadows says that she can't do that, and some people won't let Juliet investigate further. Who are these people, though? Meadows does not elaborate. Instead, she sheds a few tears. The whole scene is watched by Robert and his surveillance team. He tries to look at Gloria's hospital room, but it's blocked by a bouquet of flowers. So, he tells someone to remove those flowers. Later, Juliet goes to meet her father to ask him a favor. Dr. Peter has been transferred to a new home, which is much smaller, because he is only one person. Juliet notices that he has still kept her brother's stuffed toy. Peter is excited to meet his daughter after so long, but Juliet does not want to get involved in sentiments. She asks for his help in sneaking Gloria out for a few hours, so she can talk to her in private. Despite his hesitation, he agrees to help her. Peter goes to Gloria's room and checks the medicine being given to her. Then he puts her in a wheelchair and takes her out, cool as a cucumber. He takes her to the nursery and tells Juliet that Gloria is being given a sedative that numbs her mind. So he gives her something to counter it, but she starts going into a seizure. They somehow manage to bring her under control, and Peter says that they should wait until Gloria recovers. Meanwhile, Robert is in the janitorial going into the surveillance room. He demands to know where Juliet is, but there are some blind spots in medical, so no one knows where she is. Back at the nursery, Gloria wakes up and starts panicking when she sees Peter. She says that 40 years ago, he's the one who stopped her from having a baby, saying he works for them. So Juliet sends him outside and calms her down, but Gloria does not trust her as she's a stranger. So she shows her the travel book, and Gloria gets really excited, as it is something that once belonged to her. She tells Juliet about the Flame Keepers, people who are trying to keep the memories of the past alive. However, the silo is trying to erase the Flamekeepers by preventing them from having babies. The doctors are in on this as they are the ones who pretend to remove the birth control. Gloria herself was one of these Flamekeepers, and she gave this travel book to George's mother, Anne, who was the last Flamekeeper she knew. But Anne died soon after, and little George was forced to grow up alone. Then she asks if she can hold the baby, and Juliet lets her hold one. Then Gloria says that George's mother, Anne, knew Juliet's mother, Hannah. Anne was helping Hannah make some sort of a magnifying device, even though Hannah wasn't a proper Flamekeeper. When Hannah died, it felt like one of the Flamekeepers had died. Then Juliet confronts her father about the birth control thing, and he says that he had his orders from the higher-ups. They told him that it had to do with controlling diseases from spreading. Then Juliet says that she's always believed that he betrayed her mother those many years ago. Then Juliet takes Gloria back, saying that she found her on the stairs. Robert and his team see the whole thing. Gloria asks to see the book one last time and fondly looks over the picture of the ocean. Then, she asks Juliet to keep it safe. Gloria says that her flowers are missing. Sheriff Holston brought her those flowers and put them right there in front of the mirror. But now, they're gone. Juliet goes to observe the mirror and finds it odd. She remembers her own mirror and Holston's note saying, "Dousel the flowers in front of the mirror." Juliet realizes that the judicials can spy on them through the mirrors. She whispers to Gloria, asking her what Holston did when he was here. She says that he mostly just worked on the vent. So Juliet covers the mirror with some blankets. Robert commands his men to send the raiders immediately. Meanwhile, Juliet removes a bag from the vent, and inside is the hard drive that George, Allison, and Holston have all worked on. Then Gloria grabs Juliet and says that she's the last firekeeper now, whether she asked for it or not. If she dies, then the truth dies with her. Then she asks Juliet if she knows why her mother killed herself. Soon after, the raiders arrive at her room, but Juliet is already long gone. Back to the past, we see young Juliet walking in a field with her mother Hannah. She gives a man a bottle of white powder and gets a box in return. They take the box up and Juliet is amazed to see a rabbit inside. But Hannah says that it's not a pet, as the rabbit has a health issue right now. Back to the present, the raiders look all over the medical department, including the nursery. Juliet is hiding in there, but they don't find her. Meanwhile, Robert goes to visit Gloria. They seem to know each other. Long ago, Robert's wife had a miscarriage, so Gloria gave them fertility advice, and now Robert has a son who will turn 6 years old soon. He asks her to be cooperative, else he will leave her here to die unmedicated, adding that he does not enjoy doing this as he is thankful to her for helping him have a son. So, Gloria tells him all about the hard drive. As he's leaving, Gloria asks him if he really thinks that he'll win. Robert replies that he has to. Meanwhile, Juliet tries to use the nursery's computer to open the drive, but the computer needs authorization. She thinks of the past when her mother worked on the rabbit. The rabbit has a hole in its heart, so she's going to sew it up. For that, she makes a magnifying device of her own, saying that if it works, then they can use it to help the other people in the silo. Juliet's brother Jacob is already dead because he also had a hole in his heart, but there was no magnifying device to help him. In order to protect their daughter, Hannah hands over the device to the judicial, who destroys it right in front of them. In the present, the judicials check everywhere, even Juliet's bags, but do not find anything there, so they leave. Paul notes that this was not random, it was probably personal. Juliet agrees. She says that Judge Meadows is not the one calling the shots. She senses that Meadows was under someone else's control, probably Robert. Paul notes that when the judicials raided their office just now, they broke over 10 laws because you aren't allowed to just break into the sheriff's office. So she and Paul go to arrest Robert for illegal search and seizure. Paul handcuffs Robert, who tells them that they're going to regret this. Once the office is empty, she goes through his things and finds 3 files on her friends Shirley, Martha, and her mother Hannah. There she finds something really shocking. So she goes to her father and asks him about her mother's death. Peter says that he should have tried to stop the judicials when they destroyed the magnifying device. However, he promises that he did not report her to the judicials. Juliet says she believes him, because the judicials were watching her through their cameras in the mirrors. Peter is shocked to hear this because his wife always believed that he betrayed her. He cries and Juliet hugs him while saying sorry. Just then, a nurse says that the maintenance guy is here for some work. Peter says that he never ordered any maintenance. Juliet says that it's probably to put a camera in this room because the nursery was a blind spot for the judicials. She removes the hard drive from under a baby's bed where she had hidden it and says that she'll be going to Martha. She asks him to inform Martha that she'll be arriving by 6. However, the staircases have been blocked by judicials who are checking the ID of every person that passes through. Elsewhere, Paul goes home for dinner, but he accidentally breaks the plates due to his shaking hands. His wife, Kathleen, tells that his syndrome has gotten worse since he became the deputy sheriff, but Paul tries to say no. Kathleen also says that people think Juliet laying the groundwork for a rebellion. Meanwhile, Martha looks at Peter's message that says that Juliet will be down by 6. It's 7 now and she's still not here. Martha becomes worried, so for the first time in decades, she decides to step out. However, she's way too scared and is unable to do it. Shirley arrives just then, and Martha tells her to stay on the lookout for Juliet. Elsewhere, Juliet calls Lucas to her apartment and shows him the hard drive, saying that it requires authorized computers. Lucas says that the sheriff's computer has authorization, but she needs to take it to her workplace computer. Juliet cannot do that, so she asks him to bypass the authorization. She says that it holds the secrets of the outside world. However, he becomes too scared, so Juliet breaks her mirror and removes the camera inside, saying that the judicials control them this way, and these cameras are everywhere in everyone's homes. But Lucas is still hesitant, so Juliet leaves, saying that the raiders will be here soon. Lucas also leaves and passes some raiders raiding Juliet's home. Meanwhile, Juliet is stopped at a checkpoint where she can't pass through. Acting Mayor Bernard arrives just then and uses his powers to get her through. She says that Meadows is not the one in control, Robert is. So Bernard takes her to a quiet place to talk. There, Juliet tells him everything she knows about Robert being the real one in power. So Bernard reveals the truth. Robert is not the one in power, Bernard is. Robert also arrives just then and they accuse Juliet of saying that she wants to go out. Bernard says that the founders of the silo wanted someone who could utilize all the knowledge and make the tough decisions, which is why he is the one in complete control, saying that the survival of the many requires the sacrifice of the few. Juliet runs away, but judicial raiders chase after her and take her into custody. Back to the past, Juliet and Peter attend Hannah's funeral, but no one came to her funeral because she was such a controversial figure. Juliet says that they are all cowards, including her mother. Then she takes the rabbit and releases it into the farm. On to the present, Robert says, "I told you you'd regret arresting me." They arrest her and take her up while she keeps telling Paul that she never said she wanted to go out. Paul believes her, but Robert claims that he and the mayor heard her say it. Suddenly, Paul's syndrome hits him again, and his hands start shaking and his body goes weak. Juliet takes this opportunity to steal the bag from Robert, and then she jumps over the railing. Thanks for watching. Subscribe and hit that like button to help our channel grow. Turn the notifications on so you won't miss any of our new videos.